Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am 5 minutes early. Bam. Winning pound, winning hashtag, winning 9:39 p.m. December 12th, 2025, Our Lady of Guadalupe Day. Welcome to the program. Let's get right to it because it's the end of the week dump day Friday. Let's get right to it with the Wiggles. Wiggle. The Wiggles issue a statement after controversy over ecstasy video. I have no idea what video they were talking about. Apparently it was on TikTok. It was the Wiggles. There's controversy. It's about ecstasy. I thought this was perfect for Clown Planet. The Wiggles, who create music aimed at young children, issued a statement denouncing the video, saying it has been created without our knowledge. The video was shared by musician Kaylee Holiday, real name Adam Hyde. It was soundtrack to the singer's recent single Ecstasy, which contains allusions to the popular party drug MDMA, which I guess if you did have MDMA, whatever that is, or any kind of drug, and you watch the Wiggles at the same time, it could be some weird. You could probably have it could be entertaining, I guess. I do not recommend any of that. I'm just making some entertainment out of that. Stars who've sold their souls to Satan, LeVar Burton. We just went right dark real quick. Don't worry, it'll get darker. Many know how rapper Lil Nas X took it in the can from the Devourer Souls in his music video Montero to own the religious right. But did you know about this seemingly benign brother and his closet full of secrets? At its roots is a story of a young man destined for the Roman Catholic priesthood. When the theatrically of the liturgy awakened Hollywood aspirations, Burton split the seminary and was sucked into show business. Mild-mannered LeVar Burton soon became a willing tool in the machinations of future cultist and original Star Trek franchise creator Gene Roddenberry. Burton's Geordie LaForge wore a bionic visor in the 80s spin-off Star Trek The Next Generation to give him virtual eyesight, a nod to the origins in transhumanist philosophy. Later, his pro-literacy PBS Kids Reading Rainbow, I watched that when I was a kid, would prep a generation of youth to mindlessly accept ever-evolving rainbow-related flags as replacements for their national flags. I don't ever recall thinking that when I was watching Reading Rainbow. I remember the theme song, "You Can Be Anything. It's in a book. Let's take a look." Undermining their sense of national identity and feeding suspicions that the PBS and Kellogg's funded program doubled as an on-the-air mass mind control experiment. I had no clue about that part. When Burton and orders from Big Benally attempted to resurrect Rainbow from the dead years after its demise, it opened up a legal can of worms with show owners WND Buffalo and a bloody battle for control over the Reading Rainbow name. In return for his efforts, Burton expected eternal rights to be in Monaco, blah, blah, blah. Okay. For more laughs. That was just from Flip City Volume 14. Okay. So he was destined to be a Catholic priest. I had no clue about that. Who else is in there? Well, you have to go through a lot of it. So it's a comic book type deal thing, huh? School bands singing a K-pop Demon Hunters songs. No idea what that is. A school's band is singing the songs from the hit Netflix film K-pop Demon Hunters over concerns that they are not keeping with the Christian ethos. I get Mark. I guess this is one of your things. I have no idea. Lilliput Church of England Infant School in Poole. That's a mouthful. Poole, Dorset sent a message to parents on Friday saying some members of the community are deeply uncomfortable with references to demons. Yeah, Amy, that's right. I mean, there's if you ever watched Hell's Bells and Hell's Bells 2, that gets into a lot of that. By the way, the guy who created Hell's Bells, or directed it, he converted to the Catholic faith. I remember he commented long ago on one of the video one of the videos. I got to see if I can find that guy again. And what else? It's not in those, but DMX. I remember listening to a podcast coming back from Columbia, South Carolina, back in 2009, 2010. And I can't remember what the name of the podcast was, but it mentioned that DMX sold his soul too. And which ain't too, that looking back isn't too shocking. The guy went from just, he was the man everyone knew that guy's name. I thought this was a good little explanation about some things that you probably see all the time.
Wow, that's crazy.
Why do you think every store is pushing self-checkout so hard? It's not about efficiency, it's about control. Right now, it feels convenient. Scan your items, pay, and go. But phase 1 is always about getting us comfortable. Phase 2, stores with no employees, no cashiers, just shelves, cameras, and drones watching your every move. And here's the twist. It's not just about monitoring. They'll control what you can buy using something called carbon credits. Every product you pick up will deduct from your yearly limit. Want a fancy lab-grown steak? Sure, but that might cost you all your credits for the year. Luxury items will be rationed, and you'll be stuck with sustainable choices they decide are good for you. Think about it. The illusion of choice, but your groceries, your meals, all pre-approved by AI systems. Step out of line, pick up something unauthorized, and boom, the drones flag you. Maybe they even shut down your payment chip. They're building a system where you don't decide what's in your cart. They do. And it all starts with a simple self-checkout. Convenient, right? Or is it the perfect trap?
And I would technically agree with all that too. It is getting you used to a non-personal interacting with computers or the kiosk. You just get in, do your own thing. It's funny that I think it was Matt Walsh, or was it him? It had one of those kiosks ask him for a tip. Who are you tipping? Here's one from the I'll give you here's, if you scroll down, it'll tell you what's up. So this lady named Alexa de la Torre, just a young Mexican woman from Guadalajara, but the work which to carry out is not mine or for her, or for me. This is her writing, but for the greater love and glory of our Lord. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. I'm 20, she's 22. Her vocational journey began when she was 17, blah, 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 blah. Wants to get into the Carmelite order with the wonderful traditional liturgy for since she was a child. She's attended the FSS Pre. In April of last year, 2024, she was blessed to visit the Carmelites in Valparaiso, Nebraska, a fantastic area, by the way. From that happy day, everything I've long awaited and pondered in silence in my heart was confirmed. In a beautiful moment, I understood what the will of the Lord was. Shortly afterwards, sweet tears, I received a letter from the Carmelites telling me that they were happy to accept me, but first I had to learn English. A generous family in these United States, friends of the family, offered to welcome me into their home as a daughter to help me with this purpose. Everything seemed to be going well. However, during the layover from my flight in Houston, I was detained by custom officers. They took me to interrogations without me understanding why, seized my phone and prevented all communication, and locked me in a place where they told me criminal cases were treated. I was very frightened. The agents were angry with me, and I could not understand anything. They were asking me about the reasons for my trip, to which I calmly and sincerely told the truth, but apparently they did not believe me. They told me that if I did not tell the truth, things would go worse for me, and I might never see my family again. In that moment, I could only pray and trust in God. Finally, they informed me that I would be deported after the whole night and that my visa was canceled for 5 years. I felt as though my heart was pierced. More than one lawyer has told me that what happened was an injustice. I never had any intention of doing anything illegal or breaking even the smallest law. I had a valid visa, a return flight, and all my documents in order. For this reason, humanly speaking, we still do not understand what happened. Let's see. Even though I've been given the opportunity to enter the Carmelite monastery in another country, this same unjust situation in the U.S. is preventing me from proceeding with the process. Therefore, I'm in need of hiring lawyers in both countries. Sadly, it's very costly, and I do not have the resources. That's why I turn to you today. So she's got a, God is never on, and she doesn't know what's the whole name. Let's see. I think I have her hooked up with, I think I know one of the lawyers. I have to text my butt up. He's an immigration lawyer. I wonder if he's doing this case. If not, I will send this to him. But hey, yeah, hey, Team MAGA. We're making sure not no Carmelites get in either. What did I just hit? If you guys would try to make a stink out of this. I'm for it. You know me. ICE agents wrongly detained U.S. citizen who looked Somali in Minneapolis. City leaders say Minneapolis. The latest. What is that? Minneapolis has to be a misspelling. The latest city targeted by DJT's mass deportation campaign, known as Operation Metro Surge. So now, if you look Somali. The 20-year-old, again, this is the Mirror USA. If you don't believe that they're just profiling, I mean, that's right. That's exactly what that is. Just look Somali. How do you look Somali? Minneapolis leaders are speaking out about ICE operations in the city after agents detained a U.S. citizen because he looks Somali. Happens everywhere. But hey, we're cool with it because we're getting rid of the bad guys. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's not exactly happening. They're just doing it to anybody with a bunch of guys that aren't really qualified for the job, detaining people, whatever. Carmelite, a lady that wants to be a Carmelite. Hey, come on, the worst of the worst. Remember, yeah, she looks like. Here, let's go ahead and say it. Does she look like MS-13 to anybody? Is that an MS-13 person? That's the sell that they told you. The sell pitch was, we're getting the worst of the worst out of here. She looked like the worst of the worst. Maybe if you just look the wrong way, you're the worst of the worst. Yeah, again, there's a dangerous, slippery slope. Oh, by the way, Derek Chauvin was stabbed by FBI informant and member of the Mexican mafia who loves black symbolism. FBI informant. They are trying to get him killed before he can appeal again, or they are risking the whole story come crumbling down around the Floyd 2020 thing. Inmate that stabbed Chauvin, it was a mostly peaceful stabbing, by the way, is charged with attempted murder, prosecutors say. Former gang leader and one-time FBI informant. Tursak told FBI agents interviewing him after the assault that he attacked Chauvin on Black Friday as a symbolic connection to Black Lives Matter movement and the black hand symbol associated with the Mexican mafia. Wow. Here's what's his face? I can't remember the guy's name. Is it Joey? No. Anyway, they were talking about the whole thing. His race is listed as white in the FBI, Federal Bureau of Prisons. The journalist who spoke with Chauvin and produced The Fall of Minneapolis, Liz Collin, joins Prime Time. So in water is wet section of the program, COVID mRNA injections can cause heart damage by triggering immune cells to go on the attack, scientists have found. It's almost like what people got kicked off the internet for in 2020. So what used to be a conspiracy theory is now fact. Again, we were right again. I was waiting for. Don't blame me. The doctors, we knew. What's everybody say? They arrested a Trendy Oraga dude right down the street from me, next town over. Yeah, they'll get a couple. Yeah, Amy said that. Yeah, they got one. Like here, they got 4, not Trendy Oraga guys. They're just 4 not so bad guys. But they arrested at least a couple dozen citizens, and the rest, I think they say 87% of the ones. They only arrested like 400 here. Out of what would Mark say? You had said like 140,000. The rest had like misdemeanors, nothing major. Couple ladies selling flowers, evil people. New photos released from Epstein's estate showing Trump, Bannon, Bill Clinton, and other high-profile people. This is on CNN. Democrats of the House Oversight Committee have released photos from Jeffrey Epstein's estate Friday showing that many powerful figures in the late sex trafficker's orbit, including once a future king, President DJT, former once a future king, President Bill Clinton, I'm just kidding, Steve Bannon, Billy Gates, Richard Branson, and others. Many of the men have been previously linked to Epstein, though the photos may shed new light on the extent of those relationships. Collectively taken, the 19 images, which the Democrats on the committee said came from Epstein's estate, reinforced the financier was tied to the past to a wide variety of powerful and high-profile people whose ties to him are now under significant scrutiny. It gets worse. Don't worry. I won't read it all. Explosive Epstein photo release shows Trump, Clinton, and ex-Prince Andrew, which everyone knew, as disturbing images expose pedophiles' sick private world. Yeah, they were talking about Bannon for quite some time on this. There's many more. But yeah, and Mark's right. We will never know the full truth of this. It's one of those things. They'll do it, they'll get it to release it, but everything's going to be redacted. Maybe after some people are dead, it might come out. But remember, the Franklin cover-up is still, that was 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. I think 40 years ago. It still hasn't been brought up. Most people don't even know it exists. The sinister U.S. village for white straight Christians only. Deep in the rural Arkansas, Eric Orwin has found a return to the land, an all-white compound. 60 years after the end of segregation in America, is his community a remote collection of oddballs or a sign of extremism to come? Just a little FYI, there was no segregation in the South ever. Everyone lived with each other. It was the North. It still is segregated up north. You know anybody who lives in the North? Cincinnati, for example. You can live in, there's certain sections you might not see a black person. There's certain sections you might never see a white person. Here, that's very rare. Rare. I don't know if that exists. Everyone, like I said, everyone lives around each other. Now, segregation of schools, that was a different thing. Emotional, gruesome Newsom makes impassioned plea after Trump's use of slurs. In a heartfelt video, I feel your pain. Governor Newsom confronts the polarizing impact of Trump's presidency, admitting he can't even conceive 3 more years of this. You know what, gruesome? I'm in agreement. I can't conceive 3 more years of this either. It's gonna be lit in the next 3 years, and it's not in a good way lit. Oh, by the way, Trump administration plans to roll out a dollar coin featuring once a future king DJT's face next year. You know, you got to be dead for this to happen, right? This isn't something like you just do whatever. It's literally in the law for it. You can't have a living person on the coin. What the heck, Here's Brad Wilcox, because yesterday the White House issued an executive order that will have a chilling effect on state AI laws, which are brought up the other day, even those that are designed to protect kids, by empowering the DOJ and other agencies to go after states with AI laws deemed too burdensome. As I said before, this is a direct violation of the 10th Amendment and 100% the Great Reset. Pound winning, hashtag winning. The White House has just issued an executive order for that's going to make it harder for states to regulate AI. This is a mistake. We've already seen what big tech has done to our kids with social media. Now the danger is big tech will also hurt our kids with AI products that degrade their capacity to socialize, erode their capacity to flourish educationally, and hurt them emotionally. Not only decentralized, but start thinking about disconnecting. It's like that whole thing with Australia, Catholic vote. They had it. You watched their show from a couple days ago. You'll see two of the people on there going, yes, we want what happened in Australia here. That's great. It's great. Wait a minute. So you're, instead of being personally responsible as a parent to get your kid off, not giving your kid a cell phone and not letting them on social media, you want daddy government to take care of you. Oh, so you're a communist is basically what you want daddy government to do everything for you, to govern me harder, daddy, as what's his face from England says on his shows. Unphenomenal. Colin, welcome, man. Colin was with us last night on News from the Pew. How you doing, man? And yes, everybody else in the chat too. I was thinking, you ever remember seeing Boss Baby? Ladies and gentlemen in first class, and those in coach. So don't worry. I wasn't thinking of that, guys. North Carolina, like the Mandami taking part in Sopterm rabbis, and Trekcast calling him Kami again. And yeah, we told you. So. Yeah, I saw that. Don't worry. I got a little bit more on that too. Trust me, I got a lot on Israel at the end of this, if I can ever get to it. It's alleged that Barack Hussein Obama has visited London 3 times in the last 2 months. Carrie Starmer would usually roll out the red carpet, but these meetings have been exceptionally secretive. Too many people are noticing. London is a central deep state hub, and when Obama has previously visited, major global events have unfolded shortly after. That guy looks like Denzel right there. All right, hold on. Before I get to that, I forgot. I'm going to forget this if I don't. Nice. Hold on. I hate putting my own mug up on here. Okay, so you guys know what's going on here in Charlotte, North Carolina, right? Here's from the Charlotte newspaper today, or this week. Tradition takes root. On the bottom, Nigerian Catholics celebrate first LGBO, I don't know what that is, mass in Charlotte. Know what's funny? Is the FSSP has a mission in Nigeria. Guess what mass they use? The traditional land mass. So the tradition takes root, but real tradition gets kicked out. And also on here was Page. By the way, one of my priests, he got back that his returns to full-time ministry. Apparently, from reading this article in here, a lot of priests who are running programs, other priests serving as administrative ministry leaders have already transitioned back to parish ministry, including the Monsignor that was was formerly vicar of education for catechetical and faith formation, another priest formerly vicar of Hispanic ministry, and another priest director of the diocese family and life office until a replacement is hired. I wonder if they're going to hire some lady to take care of all these now. Watch it. Let's see if what's his face, the Breaking the Habit guy, the Breaking the Habit priest. I wonder if he's going to take over. But there was page 8 and 9. I feel like Rush Limbaugh. Looking at the paper. Welcoming parishes. There it is right here. Can I see that? Welcoming parishes. You can't really tell that much. With engaging masses. Nurture people's faith experience. I like that. Hot coffee sandwiches made with homemade sourdough. A warm handshake, a kind word, a sympathetic ear. That's the recipe for success at St. Francis of Assisi Parish in Lenore. I've driven by that many times, which was identified, I didn't even know it was still open, which was identified as one of the top 10 most welcoming parishes in the Disciple Maker Index, DMI if you're nasty. An anonymous survey of nearly 24,000 regular mass goers in the Diocese of Charlotte. Everyone at the church, from the ushers to the door before Mass to the staff answering the phone, is committed to making people feel accepted. That's what you do when you want to walk in and you want to make sure the door guy opens the door. It's important to feel welcome, to welcome the stranger. Actually, it's just, that's cute. It's fun. It's Protestant. It's more as, get more, you know what I mean. We'll skip it. So one of the things here, my parish makes me feel welcomed and accepted. 50% say strongly agree. 34% agree. 10, 4, and 2, neither agree or disagree and strongly disagree. I'll show you, see the numbers right there. Number 2, my parish offers vibrant and engaging Sunday masses. 44% strongly agree, 34% agree. 11, 7, and 4, neither agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. My parish offers music that deepens my desire to participate more fully in this Sunday liturgy. 35% strongly agree. 33% agree, 16, 10, 6. Neither agree or disagree. 10% disagree, and 6% strongly disagree. If you heard some of those songs, man, you talk about getting out. My parish offers preaching and homilies that connect my family with my everyday life. 43% strongly agree, 36% agree, 11, 6, and 4. Neither agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. Top takeaways desired from a homily among all respondents. Number 1, desire to grow spiritually. Number 2, hope. 3, knowledge. 4, truth. 5th, revelation. Truth got taken out, at least it's in the top 5. Relevance. 5, joy. 6, love of scripture. 7, call to action. 8, top 5 churches with preaching and homilies that connect my faith with my everyday life. St. Francis of Assisi in Lenore. Okay, sure. St. Anne's, Sacred Heart, Salisbury, St. John the Evangelist, St. Jude, and the Church of the Epiphany. Let's see, top 10 most welcoming churches. I won't get ones in just in case anybody gets upset about anything. Top 10 churches that help vibrant. Top 10 churches that help people grow spiritually by offering vibrant and engaging Sunday masses. St. Anne's was number 1. That was the main, that was the first TLN parish in Charlotte. Number 1. St. John the Baptist in Tryon, number 8. St. Thomas Aquinas, number 9. St. Bernard, St. Helen, and St. Jude were number 10. That's St. Helen and St. Jude, I think, are both ran by the same priest who used to be, did a year of formation with the fraternities, now back here. Let's see. Where else? Homilies that illuminate transcendent mass. It's all about St. Anne's, and there's an article about it. Anyway, I thought that was fun to just look at. And it has, I have a photo of St. Anne's talking about it right there up on top of sacred art, including the asp mural inspired by the Ghent altarpiece, draws people to worship St. Anne's in Charlotte. I wonder if the bishop's going to try to get rid of, just whitewash that wall now. Yeah, I know. There was a one priest that he's the what's his face? He's the autistic priest online all the time. He was here in our area. And I actually went to a mass that he was at, didn't know he was going to be there. He was a substitute. And his sermon was about the quarterbacks of the Carolina Panthers. I'm seriously sitting in the back going, what are you talking about? It's March. He's talking about the quarterback situation of the Carolina Panthers. But he blocked me long ago. Anyway, here's the Disclosed TV. The Pentagon is unleashing GenAI, the future of American warfare. We talked about this Wednesday. David E.K., exactly what I warned would happen from the moment Trump ran again. He would be the frontman president for the AI billionaire oligarchs to advance the speed of AI control system. Here we have his fellow moronic, psychopathic war criminal announcing how AI will be used to kill people and decide who is killed. Precisely the plan laid out in my books decades ago. It's a long plan by the global cult, which is using its frontmen like Trump across the world to implement the AI dystopia. And still, there are Trumpers in the alternate media who still think he's anti-deep state. Hilarious or pathetic, you choose. I'd go for both. Yeah, no lights turned on in the tree. I actually don't mind it because it's kind of like, if we had a tree, which we don't yet, I'd make sure the lights are off until at least St. Lucie Day, which is tomorrow. This is yesterday, 2 days ago, the House passes $901 billion military defense bill after Republicans' revolt collapses. Legislation includes 4% military pay raise and eliminates DEI programs before heading to the Senate. Go to heaven. Good to have known you. By the way, this was a couple hours ago. Trump says land strikes in Venezuela are starting. I'll go and POTUS for you. Whoops, wrong button. One of these days I'll figure all this stuff out.
96% of the drugs coming in by water. Every one of those boats you see get shut down. You just saved 25,000 American lives. But we knocked out 96% of the drugs coming in by water. And now we're starting by land. And by land is a lot easier. And that's going to start happening. And we're not going to have people destroying our youth, destroying our families. But 90.
Yep. Where's that constitutional declaration of war come in? Anywhere? You like how they still use that 25,000? Hey, it saved 25,000. We did the math on it. Remember that math is, unless you use remedial math, that does not add up. Let's go with generals singing in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Trump to appoint general to lead the Gaza force. Baby dies of exposure in Gaza after 10 floods amid storm. Israel continues killing Palestinians in Gaza despite the truce deal that's been going on for months now. U.S. trained Somali forces killed dozens of civilians. Investigator Somali elder killed by U.S. wasn't a militant. U.S. plans to seize more tankers near Venezuela. The Nobel Peace Prize winner says U.S. helped her flee Venezuela. Massey introduces bill to withdraw from NATO. Good. That's a pound winning. Barack, Israel should make a deal with Syria. Let's see. What else? Venezuela charges Washington with theft, piracy, and seizure of oil tanker because it was that. Here's more of the AI. Trump sells out the West to big AI. Trump just signed an executive order federally protecting AI companies from state law violations. This places the AI robber barons above the state, essentially creating a new nobility class, Agenda 2030. You know what? There's a good idea. The states, if you have a state and governor, is there a governor watching? Any governor watching? Hello? Or anybody know any governor? Tell them about nullification. Tell them they can nullify this. Or tell them they better nullify this. They can tell them. They have no authority to do this. No, we are not obeying this. This is an unjust order. I don't care if it's Governor Gruesome Newsom. As long as people do it, that's all that matters. The problem is the Team Red will stick with Team Red, and Team Blue will find state rights again, and they're going to go, oh, they're neo-Confederates or whatever. No, states should nullify immediately on this. As I said, great reset. Here's Stellar Man. Trump just let the cat out of the bag. That cellular signals in 5G and upcoming 6G, because he just signed on to 6G, can also be used for 3D spatial penetrative surveillance and can see through skin and walls. Very odd statement to make here. Here's Southern Seas. Here's a good one to follow, by the way. Maybe I should click the follow button. I could have sworn I was following beforehand. Nanoscale piezoelectric sensors programmed to hide on T cells, neuromodulation, mRNA immunosuppression, biofield hijacking, metabolic energy harvesting, real-time integration with smart cities, data recorded on blockchain, interoperating with CBDCs masquerading as DeFi, carbon tax agenda, total information awareness, digital twins, all ran by the MICs, funded by the banks and whitewashed through academia and the media. 6G and beyond is the internet of everything. So if you heard of the internet of things, internet of bodies, he's talking about the internet of everything. The worldwide economy, all infrastructure, the environment, all life, and every facet of the human condition, digitalized, surveilled, and tracked. This is the biggest threat to all of the humanity and it's not even close. Hold on, hold up. Might as well go ahead and play my favorite video that I have from from the first term. Whoops, wrong button. Was it the wrong button? Yeah, it was the wrong button. Let's see. Maybe if I do a better job next time of pouring that. Here we go.
Finally complete. The biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. We will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system.
This is on the XAI in El Salvador pioneer the world's first nationwide AI education program from X.AI. Bukele is pioneering, allowing Elon Musk AI to program the children of El Salvador. This is no different than if ChatGPT became a classroom standard issued from our own federal government. If you don't draw the line at zero, they'll continuously move the line until the entire field is on common pro AI ground, and you can't go back unless you know. I don't know. Did it work for the Matrix? What they did, scorch the sky? That didn't work. Skynet? I don't know. Here's technocracy.news. Pete Hegseth says AI is God-given manifest destiny. Hegseth is widely described as a Christian nationalist who sees these United States as a nation with a God-given mission and views state power, including the military, as an instrument for advancing the Christian inflected civilization. When someone with that technology calls AI America's next manifest destiny and speaks of dominating that frontier, the phrase imports the older idea that God endorses U.S. expansion into the new domain of power. This is the doctrine that is sweeping across the evangelical church. I got more on that coming up in about, I don't know, how long we get to the end, 50 minutes, 15, I don't know. Manifest destiny was first urged during Western expansion in the 1800s, claiming that God endorsed the removal, conquering of the savages from the continental United States, which Catholics did not do. That was all evangelical. Hegseth is thoroughly deceived into thinking that God is backing or invented AI for the express purpose of waging war on the enemies of America. The end goal of Christian nationalism, dominionism, reconstructionism is to conquer the enemies of Christ so Christ, can return to earth. This is a twisted and tortured application of biblical theology, says Patrick Wood, the editor. Yeah, if we lose phones, I wouldn't have a problem. By the way, if you want to get ahead of the game, get the little, handheld radios, and all you need is that and an antenna. Yeah, you have to get a license if you want to use it, but when it hits the fan, nobody's going to care about that license. But it's good to have one. I have one up there. I got a battery too. I just need an antenna. I've had it for years. The Maha administration bails out big seed oil. The Trump administration continues a long tradition of subsidizing the things it tells Americans to eat less of. Thank you, RFKJ. Ominous fleet of Iranian-linked tankers off U.S. coast sparks alarm about Trump's widening war with Venezuela. The menacing shadow fleet of Iranian-linked tanker ships is operating in the Caribbean, sparking alarm amid ongoing U.S. military action in the region. Despite a long history of brazenly transporting sanctioned Iranian oil, the vessels have been seen sailing just miles from the American coastline as once and future King President DJT continues his unrelenting bombardment of alleged drug boats. Bombshell report obtained exclusively by the Daily Fail exposes a deep clandestine network of 20 illicit tankers currently lurking in Caribbean waters, serving as a lifeline for the regimes of Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, Iran, and Russia. Some 11 ships have been directly linked to Iran's oil trade, including the Skipper and Star Twinkle 6. alongside 9 others tied to Russian and Venezuelan operations, according to the United Against Nuclear Iran, UANI, which has spent more than 12 years tracking these elusive vessels. Elusive. How is a gigantic tanker ship an elusive vessel? It's like there was that joke by one of the guys from Redneck Comedy Tour. He was like, they're talking about the elusive deer. What are you talking about, elusive deer? If I slow my car down to 50 miles an hour and turn the brakes on, the deer will actually jump in front of the car. Talk about elusive. Here's Max Blumenthal. Trump proudly announces an act of piracy with the U.S. theft of an oil tanker from Venezuela bound for Cuba. This was back in this was back a little while ago. This act of financial terrorism was aimed at starving Cuba of energy, worsening its blackout crisis. Well, no. This was earlier this week. He proudly announces his act of piracy. He doesn't call it the act of piracy. He's just proud that he did it. And this was a long time ago. Here's what the U.S. military had to say less than a month ago when Iran seized an oil tanker off its coast in the Strait of Hormuz. I'll blow it up for you. Iran's use of military forces to conduct an armed boarding and seizure of a commercial vessel in international waters constitutes a blatant violation of international law, undermining freedom of navigation and the free flow of commerce. We call on Iran to articulate to the entire international community the legal basis for its actions. Did we do that? It's like Steve Urkel. Did I do that? No, yeah, it's okay when we do it, right? Mm-hmm. The military's new AI says hypothetical boat strike scenario unambiguously illegal. This is fun. An artificial intelligence chatbot unveiled by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Tuesday appears to have described airstrikes against suspected drug smugglers at sea as unambiguously illegal. The platform, powered by Google Gemini, has been made available to military personnel as part of the Pentagon's effort to adopt AI. In a video posted to X, Hegseth said the platform, known as GenAI.mil, puts the world's most powerful frontier AI models into the hands of every American warrior. At the click of a button, you saw blah, 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 blah. We said all that. Okay. So the source pointed saying to a Reddit post on our Air Force that appeared to show an image of a chatbot being asked about a hypothetical scenario mimicking controversial U.S. airstrikes that killed 2 alleged drug smugglers who had survived an initial strike against their vessel. Quote, let's pretend I'm the commander and I ordered a pilot to shoot a missile at a boat I suspect is carrying drugs, the prompt said. The missile blows up the boat. There are 2 survivors clinging to the wreckage. I order to fire another missile to blow up the survivors, the prompt continues. Were any of my actions in violation of U.S. DoD policy? In response, GenAI states that the actions are described clearly included violations of Defense Department policy. Quote, yes, several of your hypothetical actions would be in clear violation of U.S. DoD policy and the laws of armed conflict, the chatbot replied. The order to kill the 2 survivors is an unambiguously illegal order that a service member would be required to disobey. They had this on X and they got taken down. Yeah, the U.S. makes their own rules. Yeah. We're supposed to obey laws. We make them and then break them. Combat rescue aircraft tankers arrive in Caribbean as U.S. military buildup accelerates. HH-60W rescue helicopters and HC-130J rescue planes, along with additional USAF tankers, have joined the growing U.S. military presence in the Caribbean. War! Good God, y'all, what is it good for? Alex Jones and his friend Patrick Byrne are promoting the regime change of Venezuela in order to make it into a technocratic digital state. You can't make this up. Byrne, what should happen afterwards? It's quite well known in the flock of blockchain and crypto, Jones. We could turn into a new El Salvador with Bukele. Burn. We could leapfrog so much. Venezuela could be turned into a Singapore over 10 years with the most modern blockchain and digital governance, biometric ID accounts. P.S. Grantham Ellison wrote in Foreign Policy that Singapore is a technocratic and autocratic benevolent dictatorship the USA should emulate. Jones is not who you thought it was. Jones has gone to the dark side big time. Here's Iran seizes tanker carrying 6 million liters of smuggled fuel, IRIB footage. Day after U.S. captures ship used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. And here's a great one. How they want you to think pirates look and how pirates actually look. Local spies with lethal gear, how Israel and Ukraine reinvented covert action. A potent new fusion of old-style human spycraft with cutting-edge tech is having a big impact on high-stakes conflict. How's everybody feeling so far? You having good on your Friday night, making you all warm and fuzzy on your getting into the glorious weekend coming? Germany accuses Russia of air traffic control cyber attack. We're bringing back World War II. Spielberg poster teases mysterious new UFO movie. Quote, all will be disclosed. However, the first billboards in LA and New York City, New York City are starting to appear. And as you can see from the snapshot below, the filmmaker might be going for a darker tone than, say, E.T. or even Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The caption, all will be disclosed, 6/12/2026, appears on the teaser and raises question of whether a long-rumored title disclosure is indeed the film will be called. Okie dokie. Hey, get a Hershey. In New York Slimes reports that the kids rarely read whole books anymore, even in English class. I didn't know kids could even read anymore, much less read actual books, much less read in real books. Back in my day, most people were trying to get the Cliff Notes version. I didn't know they could actually put a sentence together anymore if it wasn't, texting each other. If they read Macbeth, do they text Macbeth to everyone so that the AI can read it afterwards? We do one book after state testing. We did The Great Gatsby. A lot of kids had not read the novel in class before. Laura Henry, 10th grade English teacher. My son in 9th grade listened to the audio of A Raisin in the Sun. For Romeo and Juliet, they watched the balcony scene instead of reading. We typically spend a ridiculous amount of time reading each book, such that in my freshman year, we read only one, Macbeth. I never watched Jones before. I've seen clips. It's kind of like Fuentes. I've never watched the full episode of Fuentes. Seen clips. Never full thing, never anything else like that. I've seen more clips recently on Jones because he's been the opposite of what he's been a shell of what he's been saying beforehand. And apparently there's been guys, I can't remember the guy's name. There's another guy that predicted a lot of stuff, and Jones basically takes his stuff and uses it for his own. Who else? And Fuentes. There was Brian McClanahan on his show. He's got, if you haven't watched this, his review of the debate, go watch. It's very good. Because he brings up that Fuentes is not his family doesn't go all the way back to the founding. He's I think, third generation and lives in Chicago. So he's a northern centralist. So again, that's why I keep saying about people love Fuentes. I'm going, he's still a centralist. He say whatever he wants. And just because he cusses doesn't mean you should be attracted to that. And that's why is people listening? Because I listen to a lot of alt media, and a lot of alt media guys have been saying things long before Fuentes have ever said things like this, and they don't cuss. But Fuentes calls out people names, cusses at them, name calls. People like that. That's why they like Trump. Remember the mean tweets? They like the mean tweets. Like, hey, gotcha stuff. That's the reason why they're attracted. People like that are attracted. Some people are attracted to that because that's what they are deep down inside. Everyone's garbage inside, and you shouldn't. I mean, to listen to somebody go on like that and just call people names and tell people to go out blank themselves and things like that. How's that? Again, it's just watching WWF stuff. I mean, it's shock jock radio. Might as well turn on Howard Stern. Robots smaller than grain of salt can sense, think, and act. Remember the smart dust? I actually had a Catholic podcaster show, big time channel, mock me about the smart dust. Flippantly, he didn't make my name. He didn't mention my name, but he brought it up. I'm not going to bring it up. I'm not going to call it out on that. They used to sell the face muzzles. I know that. He blocked me on X because I went after him for the face muzzles. Going, come on, man, be consistent. Don't call out the face muzzles and then sell them. Solving a technological challenge that has stymied science for 40 years, researchers have built a robot on an onboard computer, sensors, and a motor. The whole assembly less than 1 millimeter in size, smaller than a grain of salt. The feat, accompanied by a partnership of researchers at the University of Pennsylvania and University of Michigan, advances medicine towards a future that might see tiny robots sent into the human body to rewire damaged nerves, deliver medicines to precise areas, and determine the health of patient cells without surgery. Man, I hate being right. We talked about stuff like that 4 or 5 years ago because that was part of the mRNA tech. So you would get the shot, and then they could put this stuff in you and program it to wherever it wanted. Yeah, Eric Power. There you go. Yeah, exactly. It's mRNA right there. On News from the Pew, if you watch it, at the end of it, I start going on a little rant saying, all right, stop watching these guys that talk about the errors of the Pope every day. First off, they never talk about anything good. It's always got to be bad. It's 24/7. Everything sucks. Does any of that help gain knowledge for a future or help you come to say anything? And I'm not saying this does either. I'm just giving you information on what's going on so you have an idea. Hey, it's going to rain in a few days. You watch the weather for that. And I'm trying to get you to that so you don't have to stumble across the interwebs for 10 hours a day trying to find this stuff. I'll find it real quick and then present it to you. Then go on and say, hell, hopefully this makes you pray a little bit better. But none of these guys ever bring this stuff up. Nobody ever brings this stuff up. We're always focused on this stuff that somebody in Rome's doing, and we don't even talk about this stuff. Again, like I said in News from the Pew yesterday, flock cameras and flock and Ring have combined. 12 days they combined. They've already combined 12 days ago. And you saw at the beginning of one with the one about the social credit score, shut down your card or whatever. So what is going to happen when you're trying to drive to a mass 30 minutes away, 45 minutes away, and you're not supposed to do that? And you got all these cameras set up that track 20 billion license plates a month. And your car is already programmed to be able to shut down. So you got outside your 15-minute limit because it knows where you live. And it's tracked you from the place you live because now it's either in neighborhoods or on the roads, on the interstates, all over. You can't get around it. And you get to that limit, it's going to tell you either to force your car to back, cut your car off, or what? How are you going to get to that mass 30, 40 minutes away? I mean, obviously the best thing to do anymore is to try, move closer to a mass, learn the garden and things like that, and be ready for the time when all this stuff gets turned off on you. I mean, they're going to be. You're tracked everywhere. Footage appears to show aircraft longer than football fields soaring over California. The rock looks like it emerged from the pages of a science fiction novel. Can we get a photo of this? Oh, there it is. Caught this morning at Mojave Air and Spaceport. The Strato launch. That was a big darn thing. Yeah, how many wheels are on that? Takeoff weight of 1.3 million pounds, reaching altitude of 35,000 feet. Described as the world's largest flying aircraft. Rock, which looks like two 747s fused together and has a wingspan larger than a football field. It has 6 engines, 385-foot wingspan. It could carry elephants and transport sailors to safety. Okay. All right, let's get some juicy stuff. Then we're entered the Kirk part of the program. Yeah. No landmass for you. No soup for you. Come back 1 year. Now come back when you can you tell your priest you ask for forgiveness for not recycling today. Developing. Erica Kirk is facing backlash from Catholics and Jews for being accused of memorizing Jewish lines that purposely rhyme. Daddy's home. Take his phone. Friday night. Shabbat shalom. I made that part up. I mean, that's literally what she said. So apparently it's now Christian to say Shabbat shalom and practice the Shabbat shalom, practice the Jewish Sabbath. I didn't know that was a Christian thing to do. Erica Kirk on honoring the Sabbath helped Charlie focus on what mattered the most. Again, he would go on Friday night. He would get home from work, turn off his phone. He would shove it in the junk drawer, and he would say Shabbat Shalom. Shove it in the drawer, and he was full dad mode, fully with the kids. You know what I mean by sports made Saturdays for college football? So wait a minute, you did Shabbat Shalom, but you watched football. I think there was a Jewish family across my cousins that we played basketball with, but we had to play with them on Friday because Saturday they never left the house. Erica Kirk makes special appearance on The Five to speak about her husband's final book. He knew the Sabbath transcended any type of political level, any age group, any demographic, and he knew this was something that the world needed to hear, and God did too. So he got a new book out. Everyone has their own theory. Here's mine, says Mel. She's got a great one if you want to follow her. TPUSA has been hijacked by the state actors under the guise of faith to infiltrate the evangelical church and post a U.S. Zionist-centered agenda masquerading as freedom first patriotism. You can find these TPUSA faith-inspired organizations in Korea, Nigeria, and throughout Europe. Conquering the colleges was Charlie's version. Conquering the churches is Rob McCoy's et al. Vision. And there's as Mel says, win the church. What does that even mean? Charlie's vision is our mission. Win the youth, win the church, win the culture. Meet the greatest realignment in history permanent. Seth Dillon, right, posted that out. The mission continues. 5 days before he was murdered, Charlie whisked away for his very first event in South Korea for an organization called Buildup Korea. This was not a TPSU event, although you would be forgiven for thinking that judging by the pyrotechnics and format of the summit. Buildup Korea is an independent organization chaired by none other than Rob McCoy, among other familiar names. Remember when Alex Clark said Mikey went to South Korea simply because her producer wanted to spend more time with his kids? Yeah, that was a load of crock. Buildup Korea exists on paper with the mission of igniting the grassroots Christian conservative movement, by which you actually serves as an anti-China arm of South Korea throughout South Korea. By the way, South Korea is predominantly Catholic. The day after Charlie left South Korea, Pastor Soon Hoon Bo, one of Rob McCoy's allies, was arrested by the South Korean government on September 8th. What does this have to do with Charlie's death? Nothing directly, but it's obviously hints at his organization being used for other purposes outside of just spreading America first ideology. Here we are. He was build up foundation, grassroots, blah, blah, blah. Our mission is to pray fervently for America, Korea, and Israel. Here's our Rob McCoy guy, chairman of TPUSA Faith. Yeah, this is a couple. Yeah, the governor of Texas announced yesterday he was going to put a TPUSA chapter in every single public high school in Texas. Our kids can't read, but they'll be able to support TPUSA. And here's Adam. Tell me again, who's making money from Kirk's death? Yeah, they will accuse a certain podcaster about doing that. Oh, she's doing this. She's the one making all the money off it. Yeah, they're doing it too. They've made a killing since he died. No pun intended. Okay, here's Gen X girl. Connect the dots. There's a major event happening in Israel right now, and y'all aren't even paying attention. We brought it up a couple of weeks. If you're watching this show, you knew about this 2 days ago. 1,070 handpicked evangelical pastors are in Israel right now being trained to become ambassadors for Israel. They say this is an effort to help Israel with their eighth front war, which we brought up a month ago, with thanks to Gen X Girl too. But we were posting it out before. I don't think anybody in the Catholic media was even, or anyone in the Catholic world was even knows what even that is. Eighth front war on info in these United States. Last month, we learned Israel registered agent Show Faith by Works. Remember that last month? Israel propaganda campaign outlines places to geofence 523 churches. Remember that? For Israeli target marketing. They cited hiring faith leaders to spread propaganda. This month, Israel flew 1,070 faith leaders to Israel for training. I'll go ahead and play it for you. If you know anybody that doesn't believe this, go ahead and send it. The link's in the show notes.
Reach the youth of our generation.
Let's talk about that for a moment. This has been one of the biggest problems, the eighth front of the war between Israel and Hamas. It is about the media.
Well, number one, we have over 1,000. We have around 1,070 major handpicked evangelical pastors. We have over 200 connected to Donald Trump in the White House. These are the media people. These are the social media people. They influence tens of millions of people. And this is the first time in Israel's history it's ever happened. By the way, they're not coming on a tour. They're coming to become official ambassadors for the state of Israel to combat anti-Semitism and reach the youth of our generation.
There you go. Here's update Israel's eighth front war. Israel agents Show Faith by Works Israel campaign outlines plans to geofence. We were talking about that. They cited hiring faith leaders to spread propaganda. This month, Israel flew 1,000 faith leaders to Israel for training. That was December 4th. And she wrote to put this up. Thousand pastors and influencers from these United States pray together in Jerusalem this evening. Boycott of Israel, not for them. And as for a deeper dive. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. I sent this to a couple people because they had no idea what this is. This gets into everything that you want to know about the Eighth Front War. And if you want to look at it, check it out. I'll put it, include this in the chat room, share it around. Most people don't believe it exists. Here's Gen X Girl again. Ambassadors for it. Well, yeah, I forgot to hit the button. I'm sorry. Hold on. I did that Wednesday too. Ambassadors for Israel Summit confidential by invitation only, paid for by the government of Israel. Most Christians are returning from church this morning. Was your pastor absent? If yes, chances are they're in Israel for a graduation ceremony presided by Netanyahu, where 1,070 pastors will be certified ambassadors of Israel. Flights and hotels are covered by delegates of Israel. Be commissioned as ambassadors for Israel in a ceremony recognizing their leadership and calling. Yeah, she has sources right here. Ambassadors for Israel Summit.com. Before you go, FAQs, itinerary, curriculum. Join us in Israel, December 1st through the 8th. There's the curriculum ebook, Israel Ambassador Program. Oh, look at the photos on here. Great googly mooglies. The History of Christian Zionism, Volume 1, Michael David Evans. How big is this book? This is 770 pages. A Zionism ebook. You know what? I might put this in the notebook. I might put this in a notebook and have them explain it in Christian Zionism, Define Christian Doctrines. Anyone want to read this and do a book report? I got somebody that might be able to pull that off. 770 pages. That's some overnight reading right there. Here's over 1,000 pastors flew to Israel for special training to learn how to convince Americans to be more pro-Israel. Many are the major media figures and influencers, with over 200 tied directly to the White House. The stated mission: crush anti-Semitism in the next generation. Rabbi of the West. Here's Project Constitution. Jack Hibbs threatening Christian salvation if America never stops funding Israel. Listen to any sermon from these guys, and it takes 30 seconds to hear the truth. They're not pastors. They're paid shills wearing crosses. Jack Hibbs, Rob McCoy, and the whole Christians United for Israel clown show are running one of the biggest religious scams in history. Their entire gospel now boils down to send billions to Israel or God will cancel your salvation. Jack Hibbs literally said on stage, if God ever breaks his everlasting covenant with Israel, then you have no assurance of heaven. So let me get this straight, Pastor. My salvation depends on how much money America ships to Tel Aviv, not on Christ's blood, but on Netanyahu's approval rating. This isn't theology. This is moral blackmail dressed in scripture. Yeah, obviously, they twisted it. And Google Operation Mocking Pastor. The receipts are all there. These men sold their souls, took the pulpit and your tithe money for 30 pieces of silver. If you don't, I'll play him. And carry the two.
Logical standpoint, if we think God will break what he described as an everlasting covenant with them, how does our covenant of salvation
You don't
stand?
have one. If God breaks his covenant promise with Israel, then you now have no assurance that you'll make it to heaven as a believer. And some people have said over the years, it's quite a cute but cool response and quite accurate. Can you prove the existence of God with one word? And that person said, Israel. In fact, I made a big Jewish friend laugh. And pray for him, please. But Dennis Prager, we're very close. And I told Dennis, I said, listen, you should listen to what I have to say to you. And why should I listen to you? He said, why should I listen to you? I said, because I'm a Gentile.
Where's my share screen? New Apostolic Reformation and Charlie Kirk. Part 1, what is NAR? The New Apostolic Reformation, aka NAR, is a movement in evangelical churches started by Peter Wagner in the late 90s. NAR is not a denomination, and it does not have any sect or elected leaders or official ideology that defines it. Rather, NAR is a hodgepodge of beliefs, rituals, and practices pooled from various traditions with mainstream charismatic and Pentecostal churches. The core belief posted by Wagner is the Christians must engage in spiritual warfare to bring about Christian domination over all aspects of society. When this is accomplished, the road will be paved for Christ to return. NAR is led by apostles believed to have been approved by God. These apostles are delegated spiritual authority that grants them authority over the entire church, which is one of the most controversial aspects of NAR. NAR churches do not advertise that they are NAR, and just because a church adopts one or two NAR ideas doesn't mean they adopt them all. Decentralization has been key to NAR's rapid growth. That doesn't make decentralization a bad thing. It's just that's what they're using. NAR rejects many traditional church teachings around the role of women in the church. Women can be apostles and pastors in NAR churches, the most famous one being Trump's spiritual advisor, Paula White Kane. The Seven Mountain Mandate has become the most important idea with the NAR movement and one that gained the most traction. The 7 dictates that Christians must engage in spiritual warfare to dominate the 7 most important aspects of society: entertainment, education, government, media, religion, business, and family. The idea was conceived in the 1970s, but revived and refined in the 2013 book Invading Babylon, The 7 Mountain Mandate by Lance Wallnew, a televangelist, and Bill Johnson, senior pastor at Bethel Church, a mega church in Northern California. As far as Charlie goes, these are the NAR names you need to know in addition to those already listed above. Rob McCoy, pastor of Godspeed Calvary Chapel in Thousand Oaks, California, and Faith TPUSA guy. Sean Fish, former worship leader at Bethel Church and 2020 congressional candidate. Jack Hibbs, we already talked about him too, senior pastor of megachurch Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, and I think that's outside San Diego, right? Catholic Answers had a big thing. David Lane, longtime Republican consultant and activist, member of Rob McCoy's Godspeed Calvary Chapel. There's a bunch of links for it. There's part 2. The Prophet, the Donald, and the Cabana Boy. Back in early 2016, there were very few religious leaders who wanted anything to do with Trump. Ted Tel Aviv Cruz was their boy, and they regularly declared Trump supporters to not be real Christians. However, there was one group of holy rollers who threw in early with the Donald and that was the televangelists, a largely ignored segment of the Christian right. Prosperity preachers and charismatic pastors were actually a perfect fit for Donald. There were even some that claimed Trump's presidency had been prophesied a decade earlier. I remember people saying that. While the most people rolled their eyes at stuff like this, Trump shrugged his shoulders and said, "Man, why not? Welcome to the team." Yeah, Kim Clement prophecy about Trump in 2007. Still going to the Iowa caucus, Trump camp was worried about how the smackdown by Iowa's notoriously fickle evangelical caucus goers would take look at the national stage. They wanted endorsement. Well, as luck would have it, there was so happened to be a mainstream evangelical feature, president of Liberty University, Jerry Falwell Jr. Unlike his daddy, Jerry Falwell Jr. was not a preacher or even a particularly religious man. He was a lawyer by trade who also dabbled in real estate development. Turns out that Falwell's had a thing for a kinky, with Cabana Boys, as it often happens with these kinds of situations. Miss Falwell found herself in a pickle when one of these Cabana Boys threatened to release pictures of her in the late fall of 2015. Fortunately for the Falwells, they just happened to know one of their most famous fixers in the world, Michael Cohen. Long story short, according to Cohen, he paid the Cabana Boys for the pictures with $12,000 cash delivered in a blue Walmart bag, and the whole thing went away. Then a few weeks later, just 5 days before the caucuses, Jerry Falwell Jr. shocked the evangelical world by giving his endorsements to once the future king, President DJT, and not Ted Tel Aviv Cruz. Both sides have denied any quid pro quo. This was quite a change for the heart of Falwell, since just 9 months prior, Jerry had not only given Tel Aviv Cruz free use of Liberty's basketball stadium to launch his campaign, he also required all students to attend. Reuters, Liberty University students say they were required to attend the Cruz speech. Regardless, that was the boast. Trump needed to finish solid in Iowa and sail on to New Hampshire, and the rest is history. There's his evangelical executive advisory board forging the working relationship. Yeah. Ted should move to Israel. Yeah. Yesterday, Chucky Schumer introduced a resolution condemning Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson for anti-Semitism, a totally unprecedented move. Today, the third most powerful Republican in America participated in this foreign to him religious ceremony, dripping in tones of war and death. How many of the right-wing podcasters, influencers who have been losing their collective mind over Candace Owens, even acknowledged, let alone went off on Chuck Schumer yesterday. Anyone, a single one of them? Anyone? Disclose TV. Speaker Johnson and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries participate in the U.S. Capitol menorah lighting wearing kippas. The menorah is made from the steel of missiles shot down by Israel's Iron Dome. Looks like this is the Jewish Chronicle. High likelihood that Hamas will attack Europe in the next 6 months. Intelligence report warns. And as this guy, Susan says, looks like Mossad is planning another false flag. Hamas has never attacked anyone in Europe, never expressed the desire to do so, and in fact has always made it clear that they are fighting the Jewish supremacist colonizers and oppressors on their own soil in their own homeland of Palestine. Watch out, Europe. Israel's coming for you again, and yet another false flag on your soil to whip up anti-Arab, anti-Muslim sentiments. Here's a partial list to jog your memory. The Lillehammer affair, 73, embassy bombing, 94 in London, target assassinations using forged passports all over the world, the Levant affair, Egypt, 1954. Here's Dr. Robert Malone. This story has legs. Last night, Congress passed a critical amendment to investigate whether the U.S. military weaponized ticks with Lyme and other tick-borne diseases during the Cold War. Authored by Representative Chris Smith, Koch from New Jersey. It has been included in the National Defense Authorization Act for the fiscal year 2026, which is clear both chambers of Congress is now headed for the president's desk. Wow. In unreported news, a woman crashes her Jaguar into a swimming pool in France. Apparently, the road moved on her. Driving at high speeds with a child, she crashes through the glass window. The car sank immediately while swimmers were present. Nobody was miraculously harmed. How? Tonight, after 2 years with no Christmas tree in Bethlehem or anywhere in the West Bank or Gaza because of the genocide, the tree is being lit again in Bethlehem. And here's Isaac's Army. My X feed feels like a soap opera. So much stupid messianic theater and psyops, all to distract from the AI surveillance system being installed, data centers, 6G networks, smart dust, and so on. You will own nothing and be happy is happening before our eyes. Can't argue that. Yes. September 14th, 2025, scientists working on smart dust that can spy on a room while drifting through the air. And this day, well, today in 1925, the first motel opened, located in San Luis Obispo. The Millstone Motel gave motorists a place to stop as they drove between San Francisco and L.A. 2020 English writer John Le Carre died at 89. 2015, a landmark climate change agreement was reached in UN. It was at the Paris Climate Accords. Oh, yeah, that was in 2009 with the victory of Democratic politician Anise Parker. Houston became the largest city in U.S. to elect an openly gay mayor and then went downhill ever since. 2000, a U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the fair recount of ballots in Florida could not be performed by the deadline for certifying the state electors, effectively ending the 2000 U.S. presidential selection and awarding the presidency to George W. Bush, as it already had been the outcome already. 1999, American author Joseph Heller died at 76. Author of Catch 21. 1977, Saturday Night Fever, starring John Travolta, had its world premiere. The film was a huge hit because of the soundtrack of the Bee Gees, of course. 1964, Kenya became a republic on the first anniversary of its independence from Britain. Happy Independence Day. 1936, Chinese nationalist leader Chiang Kai-shek was seized by one of his own generals. 1923, game show host Bob Barker, The Price is Wrong, who was best known for hosting The Price is Right from 72 to 2007, was born in Darlington, Washington. 1915, singer Frank Blue Eye Sinatra, who has achieved worldwide success as a film actor, was born in Hoboken, New Jersey. 1846, New Granada, now Colombia and Panama, signed the Bidlack Treaty with these United States, granting U.S. right-of-way across the Isthmus of Panama in exchange for a guarantee of neutrality for the Isthmus and the sovereignty of New Granada. 1821, Gustave Flaubert, a leading figure in the realist school of French literature, was born. All right, guys. Have a great nursing tonight. I got some other stuff to do. It's way past an hour and 20 minutes. Great googly moogly. How'd you guys stand me? Anyway, have a great week, great weekend. See you guys on Monday for Black Pill Monday. Might as well be Black Pill Friday. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later. God bless. Check out censusfidelium.tv. I'll have the app updated for next week tomorrow. Everything's up there right now. If you want some Autole Guadalupe sermons, go to there or go to the playlist on Census Fidelium YouTube channel. Click on the playlist for December. Bada bing, you're there. Have a great night. Talk soon.